you will discover some things about yourself that you don't know right now. What you will realize is that you have greatness within you. What you'll realize is that you're more powerful than you can ever begin to imagine. What you will realize is that you're greater than your circumstances, that you don't have to go through life being a victim.
Welcome to a night of inspiration behind the scenes of 6 Parkinson's Warriors. Welcome, and on behalf of myself and all of us here at the 110 Fitness family, we welcome you tonight. If this is your first time joining us for a 110 Fitness function, welcome to our family. We are so glad you are here. In honor of Parkinson's Awareness Month, and as we slowly, as the dust settles from this pandemic, we wanted to put together something that was inspiring, touching, and moving and inspirational for everybody to just sit back, relax, take in all that is going to be coming to you in the next hour, where we are going to be highlighting the human spirit and integrity of 6 Parkinson's Warriors. These 6 Parkinson's Warriors have achieved a strategy for greatness. They are adding life to their years, and they are building a legacy, and they are leaving their mark. Tonight, they are going to be sharing their life as a gift to you and a gift to others to, again, touch, move, and inspire you so that you can live a life full as well. So like I said, get comfortable, have a seat, sit back, and get ready to be moved. We are now introducing our first Parkinson's Warrior, who comes out of Somerville, Massachusetts, Alison Ballard, who was diagnosed with Parkinson's in December of 2015. She is a young onset Parkinson's warrior who has a laundry list of achievements. I'm going to read right from this list. She has three Ironman finishes, with her best time being 14 hours and 57 minutes. That's a 2.4 mile swim, 110 mile bike ride, and a marathon on top of that. So hats off to Alison Ballard out there, who is just crushing it as she continues to work on her Ironman training. She's done 8 half marathons. She's ran 10 marathons, with her best time being just seconds over 4 hours. The ironic and sort of neat thing that I found out about Alison is that she learned to swim the same year she did her first Ironman, which is just fascinating and mind-blowing. She has, since her diagnosis with Parkinson's, has participated in the Sfravara fundraiser through the Davis Finney Foundation. She continues to participate in the New England Parkinson's Ride, which raises money, most of you know, for the Michael J. Fox Foundation. And she trains weekly with us here at 110 Fitness. She is dedicated and she is faithful every week. She comes in and she works on her brain training, her high intensity interval training, and her boxing training, so that carries over with managing her symptoms. But also what it does is it helps her perform better as she starts to train for what is coming up this year. She is just about to do the virtual spring half marathon for the Fox Foundation, and I am blessed to be lucky enough to be jogging by her side for the 125th running of the Boston Marathon this October. Here's to you, Allison.
So hi, my name is Alison Ballard, and I was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease in 2015 when I was 53 years old. So it's just over 5 years I've had Parkinson's since my diagnosis. And my reaction when I found out, it was the first time I swore in a doctor's office. And then when I processed that for a little while, I went out for a run. I told my 2 very close girlfriends. I did not tell my family. My 2 girlfriends knew I was going to see the neurologist, so that was why I felt I could tell them. So I was a director of research at John Hancock Investments, which is very much a sedentary role, but I was also a triathlete. I've completed 3 Ironman races, And I live with my partner Phil, and we've been together for 25 years, plus 25 years. And I was very athletic, and I was always go, go, go. I basically lived life to the full. And I still try to. I think it was just, I don't think it was in any single event. I think it's more just who I am, in that you're given something to deal with, and you just deal with it. And there is no point in just crying over spilt milk. You just get on and do it. And I've always been an athlete. I've always been very aware of myself, and I basically decided that I'll live with it. I'll just deal with it. So since being diagnosed with Parkinson's, I've managed to do a couple of 50-mile bike rides. I volunteered for a while at the Animal Rescue League, helping them out there. I did manage to do some triathlons before my symptoms got worse. So it's been good. I've been able to achieve a certain amount. I'd say that the training was getting harder. It was the fact that I was constantly having dead legs. My legs felt like lead weights. And when I was going to races, my hands were shaking and that type of thing. So something was going on, and I was getting a crick in my neck, and I got a frozen shoulder. There's lots of things that were going on. Basically, I totaled my car. I have been having blackouts. I do have NOH, and unfortunately at one point I blacked out in the car, and luckily I was only in a local street and crashed into another car, but unfortunately I can no longer drive, which is very frustrating. I also fainted in the house and landed up with a lovely black eye, and I still have to monitor my blood pressure a lot because I can collapse at any time. I did a couple of, I have the Wahoo train at home that allows you to work with Zwift and Sfravara. And with Zwift, I did the Tour to Zwift. And that was different, every week you would do a different route, and you could race against other people, and there were a couple of occasions where I came second in my heat, which was great. And then I also did the Sufferfest, which is Sufferlandia, and they give out certain workouts, and you have to complete 7 workouts over a period of 10 workouts over a period of 7 days. And that was hard, but I managed it, and as a result of that I was put into a prize draw, and I won some equipment from Wahoo, which is great. So I didn't think I would say this, but I think I would like to do a century ride or a marathon. A few years ago I may not have believed that I could still do it, but I believe I do have it in me to do at least one more marathon. Things about it keeps me on task. It keeps me motivated, it gives me a goal, and it measures my progress. I'm not very good at keeping track on where I am, and I'll just futz around if I need to. But working with a trainer is very important to keep you on track and make sure you continue to do what you do.
To keep my hands on myself, pick out dust them off, put them back up on the shelf. Kiss my little baby girl is in need. Am I coming out of left field? Ooh, I'm a rebel just for kickstart. I've been feeling it since 1966 now. Might be over now, but I feel it still. Ooh, I'm a rebel just for kickstart. Let me kick it like it's 1986 now. Might be over now, but I feel it still. Got another mouth to feed. Leave it with the babies till the mama call the grave digger. Gone with the fallen leaves. Am I coming out of left field?
Yes, my name's Phil Birch, and I'm Alison's partner for the last 30 years. Initially, it was a shock. It wasn't what we expected when she went to see the doctor, because she was dealing with what we thought was a training injury. And then after that, probably for the next few weeks, anxiety, trying to figure out how it was going to affect us and what we needed to do. And then eventually, you eventually get used to it. You become accepting of it, I would say, more than anything else. I have thought long and hard about this one, and I really can't think of any specific event that's really made any impact. It really is a journey, and it's lots of small things which make you realize that, you know, it's very unpredictable where you're heading. No 2 days are the same. So the important thing, I think, is just to try and remain patient with people, because I know I get the feeling some people get frustrated, and so I think it's important to try and be calm and help people along. If I had one word to describe Alison, it would be relentless. She cannot stop. She is constantly trying new things, constantly exercising, moving. She will not sit still. It's impossible to stop her.
I'd say patient, because I am the complete opposite. So he is my rock. He is my steady person I can lean on. He's there for me. He is just patient. He lets me do my thing, and he's just there. I just want to say thank you to everyone that supported me throughout this journey, because it's hard, and my support I get from my tri-team and my girlfriends and from Phil really means a lot. Don't give up on me. Believe in me and don't give up on me.
Thank you, Allison. What a beautiful story, and we wish you all the best of the luck in your training, so that someday, I know that you are looking forward to doing an Ironman again, maybe not all together but separate, and I am looking forward to being able to cross the finish line with you in October for the Boston Marathon. Up next, a lot of you know this guy, Ned Neuhaus, out of Peoria, Illinois. What a guy. The first thing that I think of when I think of Ned is I think about what a great family guy he is. He's been married to his sweetheart, Dee Dee, since 1989. He has 2 beautiful daughters who you're going to get to meet, Kelsey and Sarah. Started a really successful accounting career before retiring in 2015 due to his Parkinson's disease. And from the moment he was diagnosed, he flipped the tides and said, you know what, this is a blessing, and I'm going to be positive about this, and I'm going to show everybody how to be aware and educated, and to sort of really set the standard for fitness and specifically rowing when you hear his story. Since his diagnosis, he's co-founded a Rocksteady Boxing in Peoria. He has become the board member of the Central Illinois Parkinson's Support Group, which I know he is a huge asset to other young onset folks out there. He co-founded the Road to Slow Parkinson's, and in doing that, in the year 2020, he rowed 1 million meters on a rowing machine for Parkinson's disease. He is involved in the Team Fox MVP. He is a Spartan race finisher. He also has started a blog called Challenging Parkinson's Disease. So he enjoys not only challenging his Parkinson's disease through physical activity, but also through his educating, his volunteering at his Rocksteady, and also being a boxing coach at Rocksteady. You're gonna love his story. He's a true Parkinson's warrior. Here's Ned.
So I've been living with Parkinson's disease for 8 years now. And when I found out, I was shocked. I knew I had this tremor, but in fact, my family doctor even told me he didn't think it was anything serious. He thought it was a familial tremor or essential tremor. And I think he actually even said the words, "It's not Parkinson's." And so I was bouncing around because the tremor was getting a little worse. I ended up in a movement disorder specialist office pretty early on in the process compared to a lot of people. And in 5 minutes, she looked at me and said, "Well, you've got Parkinson's disease." And, you could have knocked me over with a feather at that point because it just wasn't on my radar. I was healthy, and I just didn't think it was possible at age 46 to have a neurological condition like this that had no cure. Early on, I was pretty mild. I had tremor on the right side in my hand. It hadn't even progressed to my leg at that point. I was very aware of my tremor and didn't want anybody to notice it. I did the traditional sit on my hands when I was talking. I had a job that required me to be up in front of people presenting financial results. And I was terrified that I appeared to be nervous, because nervousness wasn't part of who I was, especially in my career. And I was convinced this was going to take over my ability to do my job well. So I was scared, and I got very anxious. So very early on, I started working with a therapist, and it was meant to be. She found out her mother was diagnosed with one of the atypical forms of Parkinson's the week after she and I met. So she had a desire to learn about Parkinson's at the same time I was trying to deal with my Parkinson's diagnosis, and it was a lifesaver that we met each other. I remember vividly thinking, I feel so alone. I don't want anybody else to ever feel like this. And what can I do to make it better for somebody else when they get told, those 4 words, you have Parkinson's disease? Because I just remember the feeling when I heard those 4 words, and there had to be something I could do to help somebody else not feel that same way. Pretty early on, maybe not even quite 2 years into my post-diagnosis world, I was fortunate enough to meet the right people to co-found Rocksteady Boxing Peoria. So it was in 2015 that I was exposed to Rocksteady up at Rocksteady Boxing Windy City through Eric Johnson. And I remember telling Dee Dee on the way home, it's a 2.5-hour drive to go up there to go work out. And on the way home from that first class, I looked at her and I said, I don't know how we're going to do it, but we're going to start one in Peoria. And that was, March, April. And by June, we were doing a pilot program. And by October, we had actually gone and got trained in Indianapolis and started the program. So it was pretty much a whirlwind, but it was absolutely what I needed to do. But there's been a lot of other things that I've been part of. A few years ago, I ran a Spartan race, and I can tell you there's no way I ever thought I'd run a Spartan race in my life. That's not me. Dee Dee laughed at me. She said, what are you going to do when your feet get wet? Because I'm very, if I'm in stocking feet and I step on a drop of water on the floor, I go crazy. And now I'm going to go walk in mud for a couple hours. But I did it, and I had a blast, and I'll probably do another one someday. We've over the past few years, we've raised over $40,000 for the Michael J. Fox Foundation through a variety of different events. So talking about the road to slow Parkinson's, one of my coaching buddies who doesn't have PD through the Rocksteady Boxing Organization, Jojo McDuffie, we were just chatting over dinner one night, and I asked Jojo, what are you doing this year? And he said, well, I'm going to row 1,000,000 meters. I'd never heard of this before. And so I said, tell me more about that. And before dinner was over, I'd recruited another person to do this with us. And we had agreed to do this as an awareness campaign. And it turned into, we had a couple dozen people do it with us in 2020. What a crazy year to launch something. And we did it all virtually, and everybody did it on their own. But we had about a dozen people complete 1,000,000 meters for the year. Some other people did different goals than that. But we created a little community, and I managed to meet a lot of really great people that have really inspired me. And we hope this year to be able to do something more across the country in person, assuming we can get through the rest of the pandemic, where we're going to try and raise awareness by rowing a cumulative 1,000,000 meters on one day. The other thing I've done that's been more kind of coinciding with the road to slow Parkinson's is I created a website and blog called Challenging Parkinson's. And what I was hoping to do there was document my journey of rowing 1,000,000 meters. And it's turned into much more than that. I had burpee challenges on there. I talk about what it was like to get diagnosed. I try to provide a forum for people to learn about how to live well with Parkinson's disease. When I was maybe just a year out of college, I met a guy at work that did autocross, and I started doing that and really did that for about 25, 30 years and grew into faster and faster cars, more capable cars. And about 10 years ago, I started driving on the track. And, I kept with that. I certainly, foresee autocross as something I can do for a long, long time. Even with the Parkinson's, it's a, not terribly high speeds, very safe environment. Track driving, I have not slowed down with that. In fact, I've actually increased with that. It's something I got to manage over time. I don't know. I remember when I got diagnosed, I remember choking out the words, how long can I keep driving? The short answer is I feel very safe doing it right now. Symptoms will likely progress to a point where that's no longer a viable option, but I don't see that, anytime on the short-term horizon. And like I said, I've gotten better each year. I go to the same tracks every year, and my lap times have improved consistently year over year. You have to make sure you keep it in the right perspective. So, I don't remember, this was a couple of years ago. Dee Dee kept saying to me over a few different days, she'd say, I get this weird twitch in my finger, it goes like this. And she said, it's just horrible. Can you imagine what that feels like? And I said, really? You're going to talk to me about involuntary movements in your hand.
I'm curious what my family said, but we always joke about how my dad is so inspirational, which he definitely is very inspirational. We don't say this with any sarcasm, but just being from a smaller town and the impact my dad has had on the community has been really, really cool. He's been written about in local newspapers. He's had stories done about him all the time. So whenever something gets published about my dad and Rocksteady Boxing in Peoria, we always joke about, oh, Ned, he's so inspirational.
Would definitely be inspirational, which he's going to laugh at when he says that I said that, because that's something that is kind of a running joke in my family. Whenever he posts something online, all the comments are always, oh, Ned, you're so inspirational. And so we always kind of laugh at that, because to me, he's always just been dad. But now for the past few years, I really do get to see that, yeah, he is really inspirational with all the work he's doing with Michael J. Fox, with Rocksteady Boxing, and having all of those people really look up to him, and just all sorts of really cool things that he's doing. It's very inspirational to see.
I would say balanced. And I don't know that I would have said that 10 years ago, but Ned, I feel, has found a good way to balance his life with the things that he enjoys doing, like his racing, guitar playing. His advocacy work, helping others with Parkinson's, coaching.
If I had to pick one word to describe my dad, I would choose dedicated, because my dad, whatever he does or whatever he decides to do, he goes at it 100%, and he makes sure he finishes in whatever way that means. So he's really dedicated to the community he's a part of, and with Rocksteady Boxing, he's incredibly dedicated to his boxers and making sure that they're getting the best experience possible. But he's also incredibly dedicated to his personal goals. Like last year when he was rowing the 1,000,000 meters, I know he had a lot of setbacks just with physical injuries, but he did it well before the goal time, and he was dedicated to getting all of those meters in no matter what it took. My dad has made me proud by just the way he pushes forward. He definitely did not take his diagnosis as a stopping point. He took it as a way to enrich his life even more. Getting to see him improve the local Parkinson's community and make an impact has been really amazing to watch, but just seeing his personal journey too and how much has changed his life, I feel like he's living a much more fulfilled life. Not that it was lacking before, but I think you can see just how much this has positively impacted him. It's made me really proud to see.
This is more of what hasn't he done? Because I feel like he's just done a whole bunch. Like, I think that he's really grown and kind of changed as a person for the best. Like, he's definitely way more confident and way more involved and social, and just it's really awesome to see because he's doing so much work for the Michael J. Fox Foundation. He did multiple 5Ks. I think he did he rode 1,000,000 meters in a year last year, which he was able to do even with COVID, which was, I know, definitely put a damper on things, and just doing all sorts of fundraising and just awareness.
The doctor that diagnosed me said, it's a movement disorder, you gotta move. And there's so many levels to that make so much sense, but it's so true. I mean, exercise. The more you move, the better off you're gonna be. And, I think everybody kind of expects me to say that one. Community is so important. The disease wants to keep you alone. And the more you can be with others who are in a similar situation, I think you get a lot out of it. I see it in everybody's eyes when they come in the door at Rocksteady. I wish somebody had been able to tell me, I'm not sure I could have heard it at that time, but I think I could have, if they could have looked me in the eye and said, it's going to be okay. Because I was convinced it wasn't going to be okay. And, I really like to be able to, work with people. I meet a lot of people who are newly diagnosed. I just met 3 people in the last couple of weeks through Rocksteady. And, I can just see their eyes spinning like mine were 8 years ago. And when they can see me sitting there doing the things I'm able to do, being, happy about life, living a good life, and I can look at them and say, it's going to be okay, I think it makes a difference.
Thank you, Ned. What a wonderful story and what a beautiful family. Thank you so much for sharing all that you do for all of us in the Parkinson's community. And if you're lucky enough to meet Ned at a Fox event or at a Parkinson's event, this guy is truly motivational, and I hope that you all have the opportunity at some point to meet Ned and all that he does for Parkinson's disease. Next on the docket, one of my favorite guys here at 110 Fitness, Tony the Hot Tamale Sfravara. If you know Tony, you will fall in love with Tony right out of the gate. This guy, is truly, when I think of all the things that my dad used to do for me when I was a kid and all the things that a dad represents and a husband represents, I think of Tony. He's a family guy. When you meet his kids, you're going to see the loyalty and love that he has for his children and how it works back and forth. They have true affection for each other. He's the proud husband of his forever wife, Gianna. And after Tony was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, he had a horrible fall, and he was able to fight back and overcome a horrible hip fracture that needed surgical intervention. He is defying the odds of Parkinson's disease, and we know that. His career has taken so many avenues. When I spoke with Tony, right up until he owned a restaurant and was a business owner with his wife. One of the things that Tony is he is dedicated. He's dedicated to all the community events we do here at 110 Fitness. He participates in the bowling. He participates in all our educational series. He boxes every week a couple times. He drums with us. He participates in our swimming program. He is moving. so that he hopes that he can continue to live his best life with Parkinson's disease. Welcome, Tony.
My name is Antonio Sfravara, and I had Parkinson for about 10 years. We grew up on a farm in Italy, and we came over here when we was 20 years old. And then married John, and we've been together for 53 years.
Almost 54.
She'll be my angel. I've been trying to make it easier for her, and I look forward to get better and better every day. I did many jobs. I work in construction in Boston. I worked as an electrician. I had a job. We were making surgical tools for about 40 years.
We had a pizza place
Oh, yes.
in Quincy.
No, 6 years.
In Quincy, the Leaning Tower Pizza.
When I found out about the disease, of course I was prepared because I was working on the microscope, the last job I had, and it has to be very steady. And I couldn't do the job anymore because I was shaking too much. And looking on the microscope every day for 10 years, you know yourself the way it responds.
We get help right away. Yeah. Soon he went to the hospital, and then from there we follow our doctor. I started seeing him, it wasn't not himself. So we went to the neurologist, and we start from there, and since then, it's under control. When he fell, he broke his hip, and so we had those nurses coming to the house, those girls, and then, they couldn't come no more. So I said, well, he cannot stay like this. We need to find some help. So when we found 110 Fitness, and then you guys will be helping us. We're looking for every day, every week, to come because he have to move. Okay. And he feel okay to be with the group. He'd love to be with the group,
And
From here, we feel like a family.
Yeah.
When I found out my dad had Parkinson's disease, it was pretty tough on me, but all of us, I think. Just because he was never stayed still, such a hard worker, night and day, like my mom said. And it just slowed him down so much. So, and seeing him kind of going into depressed mode, which that's the hardest part, I think, more than anything.
Yeah, when I found out my dad had Parkinson's, sad moment. It was tough to kind of digest, I guess, because we never grew up with any family illness really that we knew about, and it was it was emotional. It still is. Yeah.
Well, my dad was, let me put it this way. Definitely, obviously, like I said, a hard worker, taught us everything. Obviously, that's why we know so many things today, fixing cars, anything, just we did everything, any and everything. We never hired anybody or, so it was definitely, awesome growing up that way, learning and
anything we wanted to do, he'd do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
My family has been my support, of course. Every day, this little guy here,
Yeah.
he kept me going. Mike has been very supportive. The way you guys have been doing, if I keep on going like that, God will give me the strength to become a normal person.
All to get better because we want to go to Italy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I trust you to give me my
my strength back.
When Tony first came to our facility, he was completely wheelchair bound and unable to get out of his wheelchair without the assistance of two people. He had just fractured his hip from a fall at home, and after about 2 to 3 months of Tony consistently coming and his wife, diligently bringing him every day to work out here at 110 Fitness and to participate in our Box H2O program in the pool, Tony was able to get up from his wheelchair and start to take some steps assisted with one person in his walker. And before you knew it, within another couple months, Tony's walking by himself without a walker around his home and in the boxing arena during boxing classes. And he's also getting in and out of the pool by himself. So now Tony is boxing 2 to 3 days a week here at 110 Fitness. He's participating in our swim program every week. He's involved in our bowling outings and all our other outings, whether it's something that's fun or it's an educational series here. Tony is resilient, a comeback kid in all the things that he's done, from when he used to do everything for his family when he was younger, and from what I understand, his family now is the most important thing to him, and he continues to do as much as he possibly can for them.
I'll reach my hands out in the dark and wait for yours to until I can wait for you. I'll wait for you. 'Cause I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up, no, not yet. Even when I'm down on my last breath. Even when they say there's nothing left. So don't give up on. I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up, no, not me. Even when nobody else believes. I'm not going down that easily. So don't give up on me.
Oh my God, it is my calling for me. It was everything. When I came to this country, I didn't know how to speak, I don't know how to drive, I don't know nothing, I had nobody. He was everything for me.
I think he's awesome, honestly, more than anything. Just because he does everything for us, even still.
Courageous, Never seen anyone so confident to do something.
I think just the progression that he's made and actually wanting to get to this point, that since he's been coming here, obviously 110 Fitness, he's definitely been making a huge change, and that makes me proud that he's trying. So definitely now he can move around on his own, and it's made a big change. Very proud of him.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. Progress is everything. 2-3 years ago, I figured probably wasn't going to walk again, And so seeing him now is definitely good.
Well, the first thing I would do is tell them to give me a little confidence, tell them that it can be done, it can be cured. And one day it could be normal like it used to be.
Send them over here.
I'll send them over here. To you personally.
Not to stay still, not to, you have to keep it moving. Life goes on.
Well, biggest thing is never give up, I guess, is the best phrase you can give in this situation. Always do your best, hope for the best, and give it your all.
I will fight for you. I always do until my heart is black and blue.
Thank you, Tony. What a beautiful story. I love everything about all that you talk about, from living in Italy when you were younger and coming to America and being such a successful part of the American community and doing right by your children. And it is just very evident that you are very loved by a lot of people. So thank you. Next, our next warrior, who's always hiding behind the scenes and doing great things, Mr. Matt Keswick, who has become a really great friend of mine through the 110 Fitness family. Matt lives in Milton, Massachusetts with his beautiful wife, Christy, his son, Anderson, who is 10, and lest we forget his beautiful little comrade in arms, Zola, his dog. Matt is the president of Keswick Consulting, a Boston-based government relations and business development firm dedicated to helping organizations achieve maximum results. And prior to this, Matt worked for 3 years with the Massachusetts governors, where he held several high-ranking personnel and policy positions. As the Deputy Chief Secretary, he was responsible for overseeing more than 2,500 political appointments to several hundred boards and commissions, including many regulatory authorities. In his capacity as Assistant Chief of Staff, Matt was designated as a key administration liaison to the federal government, which included oversight of the Commonwealth's Office of Federal Relations in Washington, D.C. He also served as a designee to the National Governors Association and the New England Governors Conference, Eastern Canadian Premiers. Since leaving and departing from state service, Matt has been so active with dozens of political and philanthropic causes. One is the Michael J. Fox Foundation, a cause which is very close to his heart, which he will share with you. His fundraising prowess has translated into millions of dollars raised for the various fundraising committees on which he has served. He himself has raised over $500,000 for the Michael J. Fox Foundation for Parkinson's research. He just recently held an event before the pandemic called a Bipartisan Cause for a Cure. No one thought that he would be able to pull it off, and he was able to bring people from both sides of the fence into one facility in DC and raised almost $200,000 in one evening for Parkinson's research. Matt was diagnosed with Parkinson's, again, a young onset, back in 2013. He had just lost his dad. It was a very traumatic time for him in his life. His family thought he had a brain tumor. They didn't know what was wrong. And it was, as Matt will tell you, sort of a relief to find out that he had Parkinson's disease. He took it, he spun it. He's now an advocate. He is someone who is shedding awareness, and again, with all of his fundraising efforts, really making a difference in the Parkinson's community. One of the things that he found a love for with his Parkinson's disease was running. And Matt now has under his belt multiple races, endless amounts of 5Ks. I think he eats 5Ks for breakfast. 10Ks, 10 milers, Falmouth Road Race. He just is running, and he is beating, and he is outrunning Parkinson's disease. So please enjoy Matt Keswick.
My name is Matt Keswick, and I have Parkinson's. I was diagnosed almost 8 years ago. If I told you about my business, I'd have to kill you. Now, my business is a unique business. I'm actually a lobbyist by trade. It's a dirty word. I manage government relations for clients. I've got international clients, I've got domestic clients, I've got local clients. I work high-tech, low-tech, and everything in between. I've got Fortune 500, I've got startups. I've also got high-net-worth individuals with unique problems. Basically here to tackle people's problems. Ironically, the one thing that I do in my job is help people solve problems, and I've actually taken those skills to try to help solve the Parkinson's problem. Unfortunately, I'm a better lobbyist with clients than I am with myself. When I was first diagnosed with Parkinson's, this may sound really strange, but I actually felt relieved. I had seen a number of doctors at a number of hospitals and had a lot of question marks out there, and one of the possible diagnoses was actually a brain tumor. So when I get the diagnosis for Parkinson's, I was actually relieved. After I get diagnosed with Parkinson's, I actually kept it very quiet just between my wife and I. She was actually traveling when I got the diagnosis, and I felt bad when she asked over the phone. She was in Chicago and I was in Boston. We tried to have this moment together, but it was just difficult over the phone.
When I found out Matt had Parkinson's disease, I was definitely very scared. I was definitely sad and really just worried about the unknown. And I think really didn't have a good understanding or perspective as to what that meant for our family. And so I think for me, it just took a while for me to kind of wrap my head around all of that before we could really put together a plan.
And my dad had actually passed away about 2 weeks prior, and it was just a difficult time with my family, with my mom, with my brother, and everyone else. So we actually kept it quiet for as long as we could.
My perspective on Parkinson's has changed quite a bit since Matt's diagnosis. I think, really went into when he was diagnosed not really knowing a lot about it. What I have learned is that, it's really kind of a disease of one, and everybody has a different journey. And I think that makes me hopeful that, his journey will be mostly positive.
Turning my disease into a positive experience was kind of an awakening. That I knew I had Parkinson's. I knew that I had to come out and do something public, and I wanted to do it the right way. So I wanted to help others. I've always said it's not about me, it's about the other guy. And that's really the philosophy I've had, that if I was going to come out with some bad news, I didn't want sympathy from me. I wanted somebody to actually be able to celebrate what we were doing together. Over the last 8 years since being diagnosed, I've done a lot of things. The Parkinson's diagnosis had not held me back at all. I got back into running, I got back into working out. I've run countless 5Ks, I've run 10-mile races, I've run 10Ks, everything in between.
Is Matt bringing it in to home plate. Second 5K in the books.
And I've also taken my efforts of political fundraising, raising money for friends of mine, political candidates, and turned that into philanthropy, trying to help the Fox Foundation. I don't know the total, but we're going to be approaching close to $1 million in fundraising.
The Michael J. Fox Foundation, they've really become a part of our family. It's been an honor to do that. And, we're really hopeful that the work that they're doing is going to have a big difference in the future.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Debbie Brooks, and I am the co-founder and executive vice chairman at the Michael J. Fox Foundation. And of course, being part of the Fox Foundation, I've had the pleasure of knowing Matt now for several years. And I just have to say, we here at MJFF are all the better for it. He's been an incredible supporter of so much that we do, including our poker night, our gala, but of course, he's really dedicated as well to doing so much fundraising through Team Fox. And I just have to say, he's so genuine. He puts his heart and his head into everything he's doing to help raise awareness. And he's actually a pretty good fundraiser, as you guys know. And so it's making a difference. He's been a tireless champion, and he is one that, does whatever it takes to kind of help advance this mission. You know that because you're in the room celebrating all that he does. And so I hope that you guys have a wonderful morning, raise my coffee cup, and join you in celebrating Matt. Congratulations. Cheers.
Moving forward, future goals, the goal is to keep moving forward. I want to continue to help the Fox Foundation. I want to travel as much as I can. We've done a lot of international travel in the last couple of years. I'd like to do a little more domestic travel, see all 50 states, and continue to be a good partner with Christy and an even better dad to Anderson.
If I had to pick one word to describe Matt, it would 100% be generous. I've never met somebody that is so generous with their time and their resources and always has time for everybody. It's been incredible, and that's been way before he had Parkinson's, but I've noticed it even more so since he was diagnosed.
The one word that I would use to describe my dad is optimistic, because even though he has Parkinson's disease, he still gets a lot of stuff done. He runs almost every day, and he does a lot of races. And he gets up early every day.
Getting ready to beat the pavement, 6 a.m.
Hey, happy Christmas Eve.
That's right. Happy New Year, Matt. January 1st. Hitting the pavement early.
How about?
It's good to be alive, right?
Not hungover.
Not hungover.
I guess the story is kind of 2 in 1, but you kind of have to just laugh about these things. But I've been thrown out of numerous bars and restaurants for being overserved. The ironic thing is that used to happen in college, but I've been thrown out of Del Frisco's, I've been thrown out of Tavern in the Square, and the list goes on and on of restaurants of people that think I'm slurring and I'm walking funny and I have a tremor and I'm off balance and I'm overserved. Not true. Just the disease. I just want to thank everybody. The last 8 years have been kind of crazy and unique that, as I tell people that God opened up a window, showed me what my future is potentially like. So he's made the sun a little bit brighter when it rises in the morning, made the clouds a little bit prettier when they're overhead, and he's even made the rain a little bit softer when it falls. I've come to enjoy a lot of things in life that you used to take for granted. Drinking a cold beer on a hot day, hanging out with friends, going to barbecues, just really enjoying yourself and enjoying every moment. I'm also grateful for all the friends that I've met through this journey, including Brett and Anna over at 110 Fitness. They really turned me around. They've got me running again. They've made me a better father, a better husband, and a better business person.
I think, over the last couple of years, he has really taken his physical fitness and his mobility incredibly seriously and has stepped up his game in so many ways. And so thankful to 110 Fitness for helping him with that.
Well, in training for Spartan races or for any races or working out in general, there's 2 things that have to coincide. You have to show up, but your body needs to show up too. If I'm there, it doesn't necessarily mean that my foot, my ankle, my leg, my arm, my shoulder are also going to be there as well too. It can be a very tricky, very frustrating disease knowing that mentally you're prepared to run a 5K or a 10K, but the one day that you show up at the start line, your foot's not cooperating, or your arm's not cooperating, or you have a tremor.
Back is all cramped up.
Yeah?
Only a half mile in, I'm already such a frustrating disease.
Yep. Advice, if I could tell anybody who's recently diagnosed or not recently diagnosed, that just try to be productive. Some days aren't great. Some days you can't get out of bed. Some days you feel miserable for yourself. It's okay to have those days. Just don't make it a week, a month, or a year.
Let's go.
All right, let's beat it back. Thank you, Matt. What a wonderful story. And I personally want to thank you for all that you have done for 110 Fitness and all that you have done for me as a person and making me a better coach in the PD community. Something I want to share with you tonight, which is something that I believe in all of these warriors and all the people out there who are ordinary people with Parkinson's disease. I know that there's so many of you out there that are living extraordinary lives and participating in all the things that you need to do in order to, again, be a gift to other people in the PD community to touch, move, and inspire them. And I have 7 beliefs of excess that I follow through Tony Robbins, if any of you are familiar with him, from his Unlimited Power. And one thing that he says is that everything happens for a reason and it serves us. The other thing that he says is there's no such thing as failure, there are only results. Whatever happens, take responsibility. It's not necessary to understand everything, to be able to use everything. And lastly, people are your greatest resource. And those are 4 things that I want to bring up because all of these people that you're meeting tonight, some maybe for the first time, all have unlimited power and they are demonstrating it in their communities. And also these next 2 warriors that I'm going to introduce to you, you will see they clearly follow the 7 beliefs of success and they are unlimited in their power. Teresa Jackson. Where to start? You are as beautiful inside as you are outside, and you are all going to get to experience this in just a short moment. She is the president and founder of Lean On Me Coaching. She has just recently published her first book called Thriving with Parkinson's, Finding Joy After the Diagnosis. She's a senior mentor coach for Sfravara coaches. She has started an international podcast, which I had the pleasure of being on back in April, and it is called Parkinson's Pathway Pals Tuesdays with Teresa, and it is my understanding that she is currently being followed all over the United States as well as 19 countries in the world. Congratulations, Teresa. National Board Certified Health and Wellness Coach, trained by Duke Medicine. Certified by the International Coaching Federation, founding member of Virtual Health Coaches. She holds an Associate's in Applied Science. She holds a Bachelor's, which she graduated with summa cum laude in a Bachelor's of Science. She has 2 national coaching certifications. She volunteers with the Parkinson's Foundation, serving as an Aware and Care ambassador. She was featured in the Davis Finney Foundation, one of their moments of victories. And she was also featured on CBS Channel 6 in Richmond, Virginia, called I Have a Story. One of the wonderful things that you're going to see is Teresa was able to compete and become one of the top 10 finalists for Miss Virginia. She's a public motivational speaker, and she has created what we call Images of Hope. Teresa comes to us with her beautiful family who you're going to meet straight out of Virginia. Welcome, Teresa.
Hi, I'm Teresa Jackson, and I was diagnosed with Parkinson's in February of 2019. And my reaction really was denial. I was shocked, and I just didn't accept the diagnosis itself, and I didn't accept the medication. And I waited a while and then went back for a second opinion. So bewilderment, I suppose. I did tell my closest family, like my husband and my children and my mom and siblings, but I didn't tell a larger group till at least 2 or 3 months later, and then I didn't go public for probably a year. When I was first diagnosed, I didn't receive any education at all on the management of my disease. I basically was handed a prescription and said, I'll see you in 6 months. And so shortly after, within a month or 2, I started doing research and I began to talk to other people that had Parkinson's. And what I realized pretty quickly was that people were not receiving education at the time of diagnosis. And exercise is critically important to people with Parkinson's, but that information is not being educated at the time of diagnosis. So I really just made it my mantra to change the narrative and began speaking out publicly. And I competed in Mrs. Virginia last year with a platform of Parkinson's awareness and the need for education for newly diagnosed patients. And really that's where all my advocacy work began. It was sort of just organic. I've been pretty busy. I did go back to school at Duke Medicine and received my certification in health and wellness, and I subsequently went on to sit for the national board, and so I'm nationally certified now as a health and wellness coach. I was featured on CBS Channel 6 out of Richmond, Virginia with my story. Shortly after the pageant, I participated in Mrs. Virginia because I realized, I was encouraged by my sister and my family, I realized I could use that platform to spread awareness. And I was fortunate enough to be in the top 10. And out of that came a lot of different relationships that have just kind of spiraled things that never would have occurred without me stepping out and doing that pageant. It was pretty foreign to me, but quickly I realized it, it provided opportunities. I am now an Aware and Care Ambassador for the Parkinson's Foundation, where I provide education to hospitals and to different groups on the necessity for patients advocating for themselves during hospital stays. You mentioned my podcast that organically came out of an initiative that I started, which was called Parkinson's Pathway Pals. I was receiving referrals from some support groups where people would call me and I would talk them through, make sure they were looking at good resources and not getting stuff off the internet that, threads that are not accurate type of information. And then I realized, one person, I can speak to one person per hour. There's only so many hours in a day. And that's really why I decided to do the podcast. And so with the help of my husband, who does all the technical part, we launched in November of last year of 2020, we launched Parkinson's Pathway Pals, Tuesdays with Teresa. You mentioned my book, and it's called Thriving with Parkinson's, Finding Joy After the Diagnosis. I've been married a long time, 37 years. And when I was diagnosed, we were, it's a very frightening diagnosis, and you really just don't know what to expect. And so we didn't know, would I lose complete use of my hands? What would happen? So after the Mrs. Virginia pageant, I was preparing for the upcoming pageant in May, and went to a photographer that I use regularly, and the makeup artist that was there was a prior Mrs. Virginia. Well, unbeknownst to me, my husband reached out to her via Facebook and asked her if she would teach him how to put makeup on me in case I lost the use of my hands. So not so funny, but certainly hard for me. So my family is, I frequently get emotional when I talk about them because they are so supportive, and we've always been a very cohesive unit. So yeah. I guess the funny part of that story, Brett, is that after he was finished, like she did one side of my face, he did the other side of my face. So we have done that. We went to meet with this makeup artist, and we've done that. And so then she took a picture, and like a lot of people couldn't tell which side the makeup artist did versus which side. So he's a rock star.
The girl that did the makeup posted something on Facebook and told the whole story. And Teresa was reading it and starting to cry. And I looked over and said, "Hey, don't you mess your makeup up."
One thing I do know that I want to do is I want to work with the legislative to change some laws around disability insurance. When people are diagnosed with Parkinson's, they don't necessarily get their Social Security benefits, even if you are no longer able to work in the same capacity that you were before, which was my experience. So while I am fairly healthy and I'm fit and I'm doing well, there are certain things that stress creates issues where it's difficult. So I applied and was denied. And so I really do want to work with the Parkinson's advocacy group. That's one thing that I really like to see take off is motivational speaking. When I first was diagnosed, I had some pretty significant balance issues. And, being at a function where I was trying to network and literally hanging onto a table to make sure I didn't fall, to walking across the stage at Mrs. Virginia in 5-inch heels and a bikini at age 57. So, all things are possible, right? Just like utter despair. My family is really close. Oh, gosh. My family's really close. And so, not knowing a lot about the disease. I was in my second semester of my master's degree. I'm currently in my PhD, and I was wanting to pursue my PhD, but I was newly married. I had been married for only a couple months, and I immediately just turned to my husband and said, well, I'm not going to go get my PhD and we're going to start having kids because I want my mother to enjoy them. And then she got really a miracle from the Lord and got a doctor that really came alongside of her and advocated for her. And then that changed everything. So I am in my PhD and I'm not a mother yet. So obviously those initial reactions changed.
When I realized, I mean, it was from day one, when we found out, there was really a realization, that, yeah, she's going to have this disease. It's not a curable disease. We, as in Teresa and I and the kids, are going through Parkinson's as well.
I actually just texted my wife that it's not, haven't fully come to realization yet. I don't know, it's kind of hard. My mom asked me to proofread her book, and just reading some of the feelings she had after she got diagnosed was really tough for me.
If I had one word to describe Teresa, is tenacity. She never gives up, never gives in. Like she said, her mantra for a long time was get up and go. And that still is today. So
Stubborn. She's stubborn in like everything she does. And so she's like very stubborn in the way she like loves people. She like continually loves them. And she's stubborn in her activities. And like she's just gonna do it. Doesn't matter like what happens. Like she's just gonna, there's like no other option. She's just gonna do it. And it's like a good stubborn that I think she's definitely passed on to Lincoln and I. That just never giving up mentality. Like no matter how many times she's kicked down, she just like gets back up. So I guess kind of along the lines of what my dad said of tenacity, but I think I would choose stubborn.
If I had one word to describe my mom, it'd be resilient. She bounced. She really hasn't let this keep her in the dumps, at least that we've seen, or keep her down for too long. I mean, like Dad said, she'll have bad days, but she bounces back from that quick, and just, I know it affects her obviously, but she like works through that quickly, and that's probably the word I would use to describe her most.
The one thing that I think like makes me the most proud, and like I guess I didn't realize it until it was like happening, was when she did Mrs. Virginia, because she had a lot of like apprehensions doing it. When my parents walked out on stage, I was like glad that I was in the corner of the room, because I was just like weeping. I was like, look at my mom. And I was just proud that like just having that confidence and living her life on her terms and not letting like Parkinson's take away like her life, because it is hers. Like she has Parkinson's, but Parkinson's doesn't control her.
My mom makes me proud when she kills it every day. Like even if she's not feeling it, she still goes and works out and just gets up every day and kills it, and it's that makes me proud.
Hard to put it, I guess, in one piece, but if I had to just say one thing, it would be to get up and move, stay engaged with your family. Exercise positively impacts Parkinson's. It's the one thing that researchers know that may slow the progression down. It makes all your systems work better. It makes your medication work better. It makes your outcome in life look better. So get up and move.
I would say to anybody who's like journeying with a person living with Parkinson's is that you can take your moment to grieve the future that you thought you might have with that person, because it won't look exactly the same, but that doesn't mean that it's bad. Like, I know that later in life might not look exactly like I had always thought it would. In these last 2 years hasn't looked like exactly, I guess 3 years, how I thought it would, but that doesn't mean that it's bad and that it has to be sad. It can be good and uplifting and bringing people together.
I would just encourage people to think about the legacy they want to live or leave behind. And while Parkinson's is not a death sentence, it does change. And there are gifts that come along with that. And those gifts sometimes are in the sense of urgency, the urgency to, to take that trip to whatever it is that you want to do. And that I have modeled how to live, because between now and dead, I want to make sure I'm living.
Thank you so much, Teresa. I just can't believe how much you have done in such a short period of time since you were diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. And it was a pleasure for me to meet you through your podcast and then be able to have you on our inspirational night. So thank you again. And thank you to your beautiful family. It's amazing how strong and how close all of you are. And really, that is just such a nice model for people without Parkinson's disease. So thank you. Next and last for tonight's night of inspiration, some of you might know her because you may have seen her on TV, Miss Allison Toepperwein. In 2014, a whole lot went on in her life. She had to move back into her dad's house after a rough divorce. She had her young daughter and she moved back with her dad. And when she was doing that, she had to sell her home. And then it was late in 2014 in December where she was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease at 37 years old. Young onset, very young. One night in 2014, she put her daughter to bed, and I think her world changed. She said, "This is not how my story is going to end." She rose with the sun, a new year and a new beginning, and 4 days later, she began blogging about Parkinson's disease. And 2 months later, she started high-intensity exercise through the recommendation of her doctor, Dr. Joseph Yankovic, who is very, very well known down in the Texas area and throughout the country and world. And he said, "You know what, Allie, you should start exercising." And so she did. She became a regular contributor to the HuffPost, talking about her Parkinson's disease. And in 2016, she was selected out of more than 75,000 athletes to compete in American Ninja Warrior. Her story on the hit NBC TV show inspired thousands of people, and now she continues to compete in obstacle courses. She runs marathons, she does extreme sports. Her movement disorder specialist has called her a medical marvel, which she is. And along with her daughter Emma, who is now 11, and so sweet when you get to meet her, we're featured in the APDA Look Closer public service announcement. Allison is in the process of also publishing a children's book that she co-wrote and illustrated with her daughter Emma based on a cat. And the cat feels broken. And I got a little taste of that book. It is going to be amazing. Amazing, amazing. So Allie travels throughout the country pre-pandemic, speaking about her journey with Parkinson's and overcoming her obstacles. She looks at life with Parkinson's as a blessing. And thanks to her deep faith, her family, and her friends, she has become a force to be reckoned with. I'm not going to ruin the story, but Jimmy Choi, eat your heart out. I know you know this story. Miss Allison Toepperwein. Enjoy.
I wasn't diagnosed until 2014. It was actually New Year's Eve of 2014. It was after 5 months after a separation. I had to sell my home. I had to move in with my dad. I had a 4.5-year-old little girl, and I got a divorce. And, you know, in 5 months, that transpired. And then I got diagnosed with Parkinson's the last day of the year. So it was a rough spot for me during that time. But the next day was a new year, and it was a hope. And at least I had answers. And so I always say, you know, I rose with the sun. I put my feet firmly on the ground and said, this is not how my story is going to end. And that's when things really started to turn around for me. I have no poker face. I don't know if that's Parkinson's or that's just innate in me. So, you know, I was open and frank with both my dad and the rest of my family and close friends. My dad didn't believe it, and he had to be told by my movement disorder specialist, Dr. Joseph Jankovic. He had to look him in the eye and say, yes, your daughter has Parkinson's. January 2nd, 2 days after I got diagnosed, I had my brother and a cousin call me, and they both told me the same thing. You need to start writing this stuff down. So January 4th is when I began Lit Within, which was my blog. And it was really a way of grieving the diagnosis, and it very quickly picked up from there. People with and without Parkinson's could relate to what I was going through. Within 9 months, I was writing for the Huffington Post. And, you know, within 2 months of my blog, I was already being contacted by APDA, American Parkinson Disease Association. What I was going through, it's very rare for a young woman to get diagnosed with Parkinson's. It happens, and it's happening more and more frequently, but it's rare. So I've never sought out to be an advocate necessarily for people with Parkinson's. I've just tried to be an advocate for people in general, because everybody's going through something. And whether it's, you know, Parkinson's or MS or Alzheimer's or, you know, cancer, the struggle is something that anybody can relate to. I got diagnosed and I was 100 pounds. I'd gone through, you know, one of the questions they always ask is, are you depressed? Well, I'd just gone through a divorce. What do you think? You know, I had lost a lot of weight, about 20 pounds, and I'm 5'7". So, you know, I was deathly, you know, thin. And so I went to the gym for the first time, and that was the hardest 7 minutes of my life. I didn't have the strength, the wherewithal to go to the gym. So I scrapped that and went to my local high school, the track and field. You know, that was a huge victory at the time, is just being able to, you know, walk around the track and go up and down the bleachers holding the rail because my balance was shot. And that led to going each and every day. And some people saw me exercising every day, and they asked me to run in their benefit. And they had no idea that I had Parkinson's. And so I ran it, and I ended up winning. I ran the 400 and ended up winning that race. And so that pushed me into an obstacle course race. that led to people seeing some videos online, and that's what led me to American Ninja Warrior. I had no idea. I'd never heard the show before, so it was a huge victory to be the first person with Parkinson's, and that spurred Jimmy Choi. The story is he and his daughter were watching it. They saw me, and she looked at him and said, "Now what's your excuse?" Then, it was on to something new. I've really enjoyed obstacle course racing, doing fun out of the box activities to exercise is, what's kept me going. But my biggest victory has been in 2020, January of 2020, before COVID really came to America. I ran the Houston Marathon, and I had never run a marathon. I'd never had any desire to run a marathon, and Houston Area Parkinson's Society asked me to chair the marathon for them. And so I agreed to do it, and then I went home and thought about it, and I thought, crap, now I have to actually run it. The director said, no, we've never had anybody run it. You don't have to run it. That has been, the chair. It's just, kind of like pomp and circumstance. And I'm like, you don't know me. The reason why it was my biggest victory, I had injuries in my feet because I had run, I had bumped my mileage up way too much, way too fast, because I don't have a lot of time to train as a single mom. And I ended up getting a posterior tibialis. I ran my first and only marathon to date. It was 23 miles before I actually hit my wall. I didn't stop before then. Then that last 3.2 sucked.
Yeah.
But I became so empowered during that marathon that I learned so many lessons that it was a victory, not because I made it in a certain time or, kept my pace under a certain time. I finished and I did something that physically I shouldn't have been able to do. The major victory was, I kept calling it the stupid marathon. This is just the stupid marathon. I'm signed up to run a stupid marathon. And then the Houston Chronicle did a full page spread on me. And I'm like, well, now I really have to run this stupid marathon. And God shook me at some point in, I guess, November, and really physically shook me to where I all of a sudden realized, hey, 99% of the world will never run a marathon, and you're physically able. God has given you the ability to do this. And it may suck, but you'll finish. And, when you're done, it'll be glorious. It gave me the motivation that I needed to finish that 26.2. Not dying of Parkinson's. I want to, I work for Baylor College of Medicine, so I want to be part of a cure. So I'm constantly, researching, doing my own stuff on the side. I have written a true story, but it's been modified, and it's a children's story. And it's about a little girl and her cat. And the day after I was told by my neurologist, I think you have Parkinson's, the very next day I found a kitten. So the doctors told me, I think you're broken. You've got a non-curable progressive disease. You're never going to get better. You're just going to be broken. Next day, I find a kitten, 8 weeks old, hopping around. Well, cats don't hop predominantly. Took her to the vet. The vet tells me she's just going to be a lame little kitty. She has 2 crushed hips. There's nothing I can do about it. So I find a broken cat. And so the story is about the 2 of us, essentially, and overcoming obstacles. And so my goal is to, I have co-written and co-illustrated, still in the process of illustrating it with my daughter. And so to get that published and out there.
Whenever she went on American Ninja Warriors. When I think of my mom, I think of Wonder Woman. My mom is really cool and she does lots of stuff that other moms probably wouldn't do.
I take a breath, I'm not gonna lose. This is what I came here to do. I walk that wire and I take that step. Won't look down, got no regrets. Won't look down, got no regrets. I was made for this. I was made for this. Born in the wild, formed in the fire, built for the battle. Oh, I was made for this. I was made for this. Mind over matter, silence the doubters. I had the power. Oh, I was made for this.
Attitude is everything. What you dwell on, you breed. All of that is to say, keep stress at bay, because stress is your number one enemy. The moment that I'm stressed, everybody around me knows it, because my symptoms are profound. My medicine doesn't work. And, my body starts shutting down, literally, which is why I was diagnosed right after I got a divorce, because the stress of the separation and divorce pushed my symptoms so far forward that it was undeniable. I drugged my left foot. I had no use of this left hand. I couldn't type. I hadn't typed in 3 years. In order to move it, I had to pick it up with my right arm. I'm 11 years out of this disease, and there are times literally where I forget that I have the disease. And why? A couple of reasons. I have the number one neurological specialist for Parkinson's as my doctor. He put me on the number one drugs, number 1, 2, 3. He said, you're on the best drugs that is out there at this moment in time. Number 3, I'm happy. I am truly happy. And there is nothing that can bring more stability, more steadiness to your life than being happy.
Allie, thank you. And Emma, thank you. You both, again, just like all the people that we have featured tonight, are as beautiful on the inside as you are on the outside. What an evening, folks. I wanted to wrap up tonight with a positive affirmation, and all of you out there in the virtual world, I'd like you to just stand up, and I want you to repeat after me. This is one of my favorite motivational speakers, Mr. Les Brown, and I have mashed up a bunch of his affirmations and put them together with you and for you, and I want you to repeat after me, okay? I am standing up to life and the challenges in my life. I am going to use all of me. all of my courage, my faith, determination, and any help or support I can give to anyone. To realize their greatness, together we can. You've got what it takes. I can go into action on anything in my life. Nothing is stopping me but me. No challenge in my life has any power over me. It is possible I can live my dream. It is necessary I work on myself. Surround myself with winners. Become creative. It's me. I've got to make it happen. It's not over until I win. And with that, folks, I want you to sit back, take a breath, and know that there are so many other people out there living ordinary lives, doing extraordinary things, making a huge impact on the Parkinson's community and the Parkinson's world. And on behalf of myself and all of the family here at 110 Fitness, we want to thank you for being with us tonight, sharing the story about some hidden warriors out there. And remember, fight the good fight with me, stay in the sun, and remember, vulnerability is courageous as hell. Warrior on, my friend. You are not alone. Thank you so much.
That if you want a thing bad enough to go out and fight for it, to work day and night for it, to give up your time, your peace, and your sleep for it, if all that you dream and scheme is about it, and life seems useless and worthless without it, and if you gladly sweat for it and fret for it and plan for it and lose all your terror of the opposition for it, and if you simply go after that thing that you want with all of your capacity, strength and sagacity, faith, hope and confidence, and stern pertinacity, if neither cold poverty, famish or gulf, sickness or pain or body and brain can keep you away from the thing that you want, if dogged and grim you besiege and beset it, with the help of God you'll get it. This is Mrs.